the dark, kindle the spark in me.
Hey everybody, welcome to our latest episode of Flickr. Stop me if you heard this one before, but you find yourself scrolling along on your favorite rectangle of technology, your smartphone, your tablet device, your computer, your whatever, and you'll see somebody that you know, someone in your social circles has shared an item, a news story that looks to you preposterous, and you think to yourself, wow, that's shocking, I can't believe it. And then you notice right underneath the thing that they have shared, there are like 3 other like warnings saying, well, we did a little bit of fact checking, and it turns out this isn't quite right, or this thing that's the claim here, it turns out that's not really what they said, or it turns out this is just kind of spun in a certain way. Man, it's tiring, isn't it? It's tiring to live in an era when there's lots of voices out there all claiming they've got exactly the correct truth, and then you dig a little bit deeper and it turns out either, no, that was kind of misleading, or no, that was like really intentionally misleading, or I have no idea where this came from, and it's right in our face all the time these days. I don't want to sound overly optimistic about the past or nostalgic, but I kind of long for things to be different. I kind of long for that when somebody says something, you can trust it. Maybe that sounds naive, but I honestly feel like it's what Jesus has been offering or was pointing out to us even 2,000 years ago in what we call the Sermon on the Mount. In an era like ours where anything that gets said anywhere, we instantly are questioning what's the spin, what's their angle, is it true, can I believe this source or not, are they manipulating things, or are they just outright lying? To hear Jesus offer an alternative. The alternative goes like this. We've been working our way through the Sermon on the Mount in this whole series, and we're in a section of the Sermon on the Mount where Jesus will take one of the commandments or laws of Israel's ancient past and will say, this is what the commandment is, here's what I say to you. And Jesus will sort of usually take those commandments and sharpen them, tighten them, make them go further down and say God's not just interested in our external action, but in the kind of people, the character, the sorts of human beings we are on the inside. And he does the same thing in the next passage. I brought my Bible here just so you'll know I'm not making this up in this era of fact-checking. Jesus continues on. If you want to follow on in your own Bible, this comes from Matthew chapter 5, verses 33 and following. Jesus says, again, you've heard it said to people long ago, do not break your oath and keep the oaths you've made to the Lord. But I tell you, do not swear at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the great city of the king. And do not swear by your head, for you cannot make even one hair white or black. Simply let your yes be yes, and your no, no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. What's he saying? What's all this business about oaths? In our day, we don't do nearly as much oath-taking as maybe once upon a time, although we sure use the phrase, I swear, an awful lot. The idea of taking an oath is to say, the thing that I'm saying, I am absolutely certain of. Whether I'm making a promise, I will do the thing that I'm saying, or I swear what I'm about to testify is the truth. When you make an oath, you're invoking God against you. That if it turns out I'm lying, may God strike me dead. Or, in the ancient world, pick the god or goddess of your choosing. If I'm lying, may Zeus strike me dead. If I'm lying, may Asherah strike me dead, whatever. The basis of an oath is to say, here's how I'm verifying to you, here's how I'm assuring you that the thing I'm saying is true. I'm willing to invoke terrible things to happen to me if it turns out I'm lying or I don't make good on my promise, that kind of thing. Now, in Jesus' world, there comes to be sort of this like fudging it area about like, well, if you invoke God, that's somehow one thing, but if you would invoke in an oath, if you swear by Jerusalem, the city where the temple is, or if you swear by the temple, that's got different weight to it. And Jesus says, I'll tell you what if you just didn't have to do any of that? Because honestly, the moment you have to prove to somebody that you're telling the truth by adding, I swear, or I'm taking an oath about it, it makes people doubt everything else you say, right? If sometimes I have to, no, God's my witness, this time I'm telling the truth, it makes everybody else go, what about the rest of the time when you don't add all these other underlines and exclamation points insisting you're telling the truth? It's like if you have somebody say to you, hey, wait till you see this news story, and this one is actually fact-checked, it makes you go, well, wait a second, what about all the other things you say? Are those not true? Are those not solid? Can I not depend on them? And look, we got to be honest. you and I, we live in a world where we can't control the truthfulness or non-truthfulness of what other people say, but you and I, we can control what we say, and we can become the kind of people who are known to be truth tellers, who are known that our word is good, and that when you say yes, you mean it, and when you say no, you mean it. And when you promise something, you don't promise unpromisable things, and on the flip side, you don't claim to know things that you don't really know. In a way, that's going to dramatically shrink the kinds of things we can say in the world. Because if you and I dare to be people who simply say yes, who let yes be enough, who just say, here's the truth, here's what I know, it means we're not going to make outlandish claims that we can't back up. It means we're going to be hedging sometimes and go, well, I don't know for certain, but here's my best guess. Or we'll be able to say, probably this, or this is how I understand things, but I'm open to being shown that I'm wrong. That kind of attitude, it doesn't get headlines, and it might not get as many clicks or likes on social media. But that kind of conversation is what we're aching for, isn't it? That kind of truthfulness, where we can say, here's what I know, and I will tell you it's the truth. And here are the things I don't know for sure. I'm willing to admit the things that I don't know. My goodness, the world around us is aching for that kind of refreshing honesty. And Jesus says that's not a new idea. He's been saying it now for 2,000 years. What if we didn't have to qualify? This time I mean it. This time I'm telling the truth. And what if instead we only said things that were really honest to the best of our ability, to the best of our knowledge? That's the key to building relationship. If people can't trust you, they don't want to be your friend. They can't count on you. And it's hard to trust anybody else if your mental state is, why would I trust anybody? People always lie, because you're already always lying. You and I can be part of the refreshing difference, right? We talk way back about when Jesus talks about his followers as being salt and light in the world, right? Being this sort of refreshing, different, distinct kind of presence. And there it was just a metaphor, right? Okay, be salt, but what does that look like? Here Jesus is spelling it out. What would it look like if you, just you and your immediate circle of people became reliable, were the kind of person everybody knew they could count on? When you say something, it's true. When I say something, people know that it really is true. What if you and I were that kind of people? How would that change the conversations around us? And how might from there, might it ripple out and change national, international conversations? How might that ripple out to generations that come after us, who won't always have to wonder whether the things we said or posted on our rectangles of technology really were the truth or not? What if you and I were people who could let be yes simply be enough? Give it a try and catch up with us next time here on Flickr. Bye.